I don't want to be treated by you. The man lay on the stretcher covered in blood, but his eyes were fixed on Dr. Sarah Ahmed's headscarf. I want another doctor, not someone like you. At that moment, Sarah realized that the 6 years she had spent in medical school meant nothing. But what she didn't yet know was that this night would change her life forever.
Dr. Sarah Ahmed was a 29-year-old emergency medicine specialist working in the ER at Toronto General Hospital. It was the night shift, and the clock read 11:47 p.m. Suddenly, an alarm blared from the duty room. Code red, Trauma 1. Sarah straightened her white coat, adjusted her navy blue hijab, and began to run. 6 years of medical school, 3 years of residency, hundreds of lives saved, yet she still felt that same tension during every shift. When she entered the trauma room, the paramedic team was arriving with a stretcher. A middle-aged white man had been in a motorcycle accident. He had heavy bleeding from his right leg and a suspected internal injury. "Vitals dropping, doctor!" shouted Jennifer, the nurse. "Wait a second, don't miss this detail." Sarah moved to the head of the bed to check the patient's eyes. The man opened them and looked at Sarah. In that moment, she saw a familiar expression: shock, then disgust, then rage. "No," the man gasped, breathless. "I don't want treatment from you." Everyone in the room froze. "Mr. Morrison, you have a severe injury. I need to intervene immediately," Sarah said, her voice calm but firm. "Not from someone like you," the man screamed, despite the pain. "Another doctor, a white one, a real doctor." Sarah's heart tightened, but her hands didn't shake. "Mr. Morrison, you're losing blood. If I don't intervene now—" "Get away from me! I don't want you!" But the most shocking part was yet to come. Marigot, the head trauma nurse, stepped in. "Dr. Ahmed, maybe we should page Dr. Chen." In that moment, Sarah realized it wasn't just the patient, the team was hesitating too. After all these years, her identity beneath the white coat was still seen as more important than her medical expertise. That was the point where everything changed. Sarah took a deep breath. She fixed her eyes on the patient's monitor. His blood pressure was dropping, his heart rate was climbing, minutes mattered. "Mr. Morrison," Sarah said, her voice harder now, "I've been working here for 5 years. I'm the only one who can save your life. Dr. Chen is at least 15 minutes away. In that time, you could go into shock from blood loss." The man still resisted. "I don't care. You may not care who I am, but you should care about your life." Silence. Margaret looked at Sarah, then at the patient, then back at Sarah. "Doctor, what are we doing?" "What would you have done?" Sarah made a choice in that moment. She didn't back down. "We're intervening now. With or without Mr. Morrison's consent, saving his life is my duty. Margaret, prep him." Jennifer looked hesitant. "But doctor, if he refuses?" "He is not in a position to make rational decisions. He's in shock and losing blood. We proceed. That is an order." What you've seen so far is nothing. The next 40 minutes were some of the most intense of Sarah's career. The bleeding from the main artery in the leg was controlled, a CT scan was taken for internal bleeding, and the emergency surgical team was called. Mr. Morrison lost consciousness during the procedure, but he survived. At 1:15 a.m., the patient was taken into surgery. When Sarah stepped out of the trauma room and pulled off her gloves, she noticed her hands were shaking. She didn't know if it was from anger, exhaustion, or a sense of emptiness. She went to the restroom and looked in the mirror. Her hijab had shifted slightly. There was a blood stain on her face, and the dark circles under her eyes were prominent. You won't believe it, but The door opened. Margaret walked in. "Sarah, I'm sorry. I should have backed you up in there." Sarah turned. "Margaret, you've been a nurse here for 12 years. You know me. But when a patient asked for a white doctor, you hesitated." Margaret looked away. "I was just trying to de-escalate the situation." "No, you left me alone in there." Sarah's voice cracked. "This wasn't the first time, Margaret. Last month, a female patient said she couldn't trust a doctor in a hijab. You were there. You said nothing." Margaret remained silent. Sarah washed her hands. "You know, in med school, they told me the patient comes first, but nobody told me some patients will care more about who you are than what you know. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet." When her shift ended that morning, Sarah went to the locker room. When she turned on her phone, she saw 17 missed calls, all from the same number, the hospital's HR director. There was a message. "Dr. Ahmed, you need to come to my office immediately. Mr. Morrison's family has filed a formal complaint." Sarah looked at her phone. The screen blurred, but she didn't cry. She just took a deep breath and went upstairs. The next morning, she was sitting in the office of HR Director David Patterson. There was a file on the desk. "Dr. Ahmed, Mr. Morrison's wife is claiming you provided forced treatment, that you intervened without patient consent." Sarah was in disbelief. "The man was dying. He was hemorrhaging. Consent or not, I had to save his life." "I understand that, but the family feels their religious and cultural sensitivities were violated." But the real shocker was... Sarah leaned forward. "David, the man said, 'I don't want treatment from you, not from someone like you. The records will show that. That was blatant discrimination.'" Patterson closed the file. "Sarah, I get it, but the hospital is facing potential litigation. The family has hired a lawyer." Sarah took a deep breath. She fixed her eyes on the patient's monitor. The blood pressure was dropping. The heart rate was climbing. Minutes mattered. "Mr. Morrison," Sarah said, her voice harder now, "I've been working here for 5 years. I'm the only one who can save your life." "So, saving a patient's life is now being used against me?" No, of course not," Patterson said, but his voice wasn't convincing. "It's just... maybe you could take some time away from the ER. We could move you to administrative duties, just until things cool down." Sarah stood up. Her legs were shaking, but her voice was clear. "No, I'm an emergency physician. My patients need me." "Sarah, be smart. Is being smart more important than doing what's right?" As she left the office, she saw a young intern in the hallway. It was Dr. Amira Hassan, a woman wearing a hijab. She looked at Sarah and smiled. In that smile, there was a mix of admiration and fear. In that moment, Sarah realized she had to fight not just for herself, but for Amira too. And right then... During her next shift, Sarah arrived at the ER as usual, but something had changed. The trauma team greeted her differently, distant, hesitant. Dr. Chen came up to her. He was a colleague of Korean descent. "Sarah, I heard. I'm sorry. Are you going to hesitate too now?" Chen was taken aback. "What? No, I know how good of a doctor you are. But last night, when Margaret wanted you to be paged, you didn't come." Chen went quiet. I was on another case." "Chen, that case took 15 minutes. You just didn't want to get involved." Chen looked away and walked off. Sarah was left alone. You won't believe it, but... During her lunch break, the cafeteria was empty. Sarah sat at a corner table. As she drank her coffee, the young intern, Amira, came over. "Dr. Ahmed, may I sit here?" "Of course." Amira sat down, looking timid. I heard what happened, and I want to tell you something. You are my hero." Sarah was surprised. A hero? Yes, I'm a first-year intern. Every day I'm afraid, not of being a doctor, but that patients will reject me. But I watched you. You never gave up. Sarah's eyes welled up. Amira, it's not easy. Some days I want to give up, but you don't. That's what makes you a hero. Just then, Sarah's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Dr. Ahmed, this is Emily Foster. You saved me when I had a heart attack last year. I heard what's happening at the hospital. We want to do something to support you. Can you get in touch with me? Sarah looked at the screen. Then another message came, and another, and another. Former patients, colleagues, nurses, all sending messages of support. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. Sarah took a deep breath. She fixed her eyes on the patient's monitor. The blood pressure was dropping, the heart rate was climbing, minutes mattered. Mr. Morrison, Sarah said, her voice harder now. I've been working here for 5 years. I'm the only one who can save your life. 3 days later, a small crowd gathered at the hospital entrance. About 30 or 40 people held signs. We stand with Dr. Ahmed. Discrimination has no place in medicine. Save lives, not egos. When Sarah arrived for her morning shift and saw this scene, she froze. Emily Foster was at the front of the crowd. When she saw Sarah, she smiled and waved. A security guard walked up to her. Dr. Ahmed, they are here for you. Should we let them stay? Sarah couldn't hold back her tears. Yes, please. Emily came over and hugged her. You saved my life last year. Now it's our turn to save yours. That day, a local news station covered the story with the headline, Muslim Doctor Faces Discrimination After Saving Patient's Life. It went viral on social media. The hashtag, Stand with Dr. Ahmed, began trending. But the most shocking thing was, 2 days later, the hospital administration held an emergency press conference. CEO Rebecca Thompson took the podium. Toronto General Hospital is committed to the safety and dignity of all its employees. Dr. Sarah Ahmed is an extraordinary physician who saved our patient's life. We reject the complaint filed against her and offer her our full support as she continues her work. Additionally, they announced the following policies. Zero tolerance policy. Discrimination against healthcare workers will absolutely not be tolerated. Patient education. An anti-discrimination module will be added to patient rights materials. Staff support program. Psychological support for employees who face discrimination. Mandatory training. Cultural sensitivity training will become mandatory for all staff. A week later, Sarah was back in the trauma room. A new case, an elderly woman with a head injury from a fall. The woman hesitated when she saw Sarah. You're Muslim, aren't you? Sarah braced herself. Here we go again. But the woman continued. My grandson showed me the news about you. You saved that man even though he was horrible to you. That's real doctoring. Sarah smiled. Thank you. Now let's take care of you. And right then, at the end of that month, Sarah was invited to speak at a hospital staff meeting. More than 200 doctors, nurses, and staff were present. Her hands shook as she stepped up to the podium, but her voice was strong. I am Dr. Sarah Ahmed. I am an emergency physician, but I am also a Muslim woman who wears a hijab. For many years, I tried to keep these two identities separate, as if my white coat would make my hijab invisible. But it didn't, because for some people, no matter how good of a doctor I am, I will always be the other first. But I realize now that this is not my problem. This is a problem for society, and to solve this problem, we cannot remain silent.
I know, Sarah said, but you're supporting me now. That's enough. Margaret came over too, her eyes misty. I was wrong. I should have stood with you from the beginning. Sarah hugged her. We all have to start somewhere. 3 months later, Sarah was promoted to become the head of the emergency department. She was the first Muslim woman appointed to a chief of medicine position at the hospital. Her first act was to launch the Inclusive Medicine Program hospital-wide, focusing on diversity, fighting discrimination, and patient rights. One day, the young intern Amira came to her. Dr. Ahmed, there's a case. The patient rejected me because of my hijab. Sarah stood up. Come, let's go together. When they entered the patient's room, Sarah spoke. I am Dr. Sarah Ahmed, Chief of the Emergency Department. Dr. Hassan is one of the brightest young doctors in this hospital. By rejecting her, you are rejecting the best possible care. The patient hesitated, then lowered his head. I apologize. I was wrong. As they left the room, Amira asked, How did you do that? Sarah smiled. Like you, I was afraid once too, but then I realized we are here to save lives, and we don't need anyone's permission to do that. This story was inspired by real life. Thousands of healthcare workers worldwide are rejected by patients simply because of their faith or identity. Real statistics. 76% of doctors who wear hijabs in the U.S. have been rejected by a patient at least once. Complaints against Muslim healthcare workers in Canada have increased by 83% in the last 3 years. 41% of religious discrimination cases in UK hospitals go unreported. 62% of Muslim doctors in Australia have faced discrimination at least once in their careers. But there is hope. Like Sarah, every healthcare worker who breaks the silence changes the system. You can help. If you are a victim, document everything, reach out to support groups, and learn your legal rights. If you are a witness, speak up, support your colleague, and demand policy changes in your institution. If you are a patient, remember it is a doctor's knowledge that saves lives, not their identity. Remember, medicine is humanity's most universal language, but sometimes we forget that language. Dr. Sarah Ahmed. Sarah's story has ended. Your story continues. Will you stay silent or will you stand up?